Have you ever wondered how an AI can read a book, let alone an entire library, without just getting completely lost in all that text? I mean, it's one of the biggest challenges in AI today, and the solution? Well, it's all about the art of breaking things down. Seriously, think about it for a second. You can't just dump the entire internet into an AI and say, go figure it out. It would be like trying to drink from a fire hose. That massive ocean of information has to be broken down into small, manageable sips. And that's where a really fundamental concept in AI comes into play. And that concept is called chunking. At its core, it's pretty simple. Just breaking down huge amounts of information into smaller, meaningful pieces. But, and this is the important part, the way you do it, the strategy you use to make those cuts, can totally change how well an AI actually understands anything. Not all chunking methods are created equal, not by a long shot. So let's get smarter about this. We're going to walk through 4 key strategies today, and each one gets a little more sophisticated. We'll kick things off with a simple document cut, then move to a more layered, recursive approach. After that, we'll get into semantic chunking, which is all about meaning, and finally, we'll look at the super smart agentic method. By the end, you'll have a much better idea of how this all works and which strategy might be right for you. All right, first step, let's talk about the most straightforward method out there, document chunking. The easiest way to picture this one is, well, it's like a guillotine. It's fast, it's simple, and it's pretty brutal. It just chops up the text at set points, maybe after every paragraph, or at the end of every page, or even just every 500 characters. Whack, whack, whack. It gets the job done, no doubt, but there's not a lot of finesse involved. And that leads us to the big trade-off. On the one hand, yeah, it's super simple and blazing fast. If you've got mountains of text to get through, this is your workhorse. But the downside is huge. You can lose a ton of context. Imagine you ask a chatbot about a company's finances, but the chunk ends right after our revenue was $1 million and cuts off the part that says, but our net loss was $2 million. See the problem? That inflexibility is its real Achilles heel. So that really begs the question, right? How can we make a smarter cut? How do we break down all this text while actually keeping the original ideas and their context intact? Well, that brings us right to our second strategy, which takes a much more clever, layered approach. This is recursive chunking. The perfect analogy here is a set of Russian nesting dolls. You start with the big doll, the whole document. You open it up, and you find smaller dolls inside. Those are your chapters. Then you open up a chapter, and you find even smaller pieces, like paragraphs. And then inside those, you find the sentences. It tries to break the text down along its natural, built-in structure. It's a hierarchy. So how does this one measure up? The huge plus is that it's way better at keeping related information together because it respects the document's layout. But it is a bit more complicated to set up. And, you can still end up with some weird splits if the document you're working with doesn't have a nice, clean structure. So it's definitely an improvement, but we're not quite at perfect yet. Okay, so what if we just stopped thinking about structure altogether? What if we focused on what the text actually means? Now that is the revolutionary idea behind our third strategy, semantic chunking. I want you to picture a really great librarian. They don't organize books based on how many pages they have, right? No, they organize them by topic. Semantic chunking is your AI librarian. It actually reads and understands the text, grouping sentences together based on what they're about. As soon as the topic shifts in a meaningful way, boom, it starts a new chunk. The power of this is that you get chunks that are incredibly coherent. Let's go back to that chatbot example. This method would totally understand that the entire conversation about quarterly earnings, the revenue, the costs, the profit, the loss, it's all one cohesive topic, and it would keep it all together. The catch? Well, it all hinges on how good the AI model is that's doing the reading. If you have a poor model, you're going to get poor chunks. Simple as that. And that leads us to the absolute cutting edge. This is the most intelligent, most sophisticated strategy of them all. This is agentic chunking. Okay, so forget the guillotine, forget the librarian. I want you to imagine hiring a brilliant personal research assistant. That's agentic chunking. A highly advanced AI, an agent, reads the entire document and makes these intelligent, almost human-like judgments about where the natural breaks in the topic are. It isn't just following a simple set of rules, it's actively comprehending the material. As you can probably guess, this method creates incredibly high-quality, deeply meaningful chunks. It's the best of the best. But that top-tier quality comes with a pretty steep price tag. it is, by far, the most expensive and slowest option. Plus, since the AI is making its own complex decisions, it can be a bit of a black box. You see the amazing result, but you don't always know exactly how it got there.
Oh, okay. We've just covered 4 really powerful strategies, from the dead simple to the incredibly complex. So the big question is, how do you pick one? Well, let's put them all head to head.
Looking at this, it all becomes pretty clear. If you just need raw speed and you're processing massive amounts of data, document chunking is your go-to. If you're looking for a nice balance between structure and simplicity, Recursive is a fantastic middle ground. Now, if thematic context is the most important thing for your project, Semantic is going to be your best friend. But if you need the absolute highest quality possible and money is no object, then Agentic is the undisputed king. So here's the bottom line. There is no single best way to do this. It's a classic trade-off, really. The right choice always comes back to your specific goals, your budget, and exactly what kind of information you're trying to make sense of. And that leaves us with one last kind of fascinating thought to chew on. As these AI models get more and more powerful, will we even need all these different strategies? Or will the best chunky method just become the one that thinks most like a human? Will the ultimate goal just be to perfectly copy how an expert would break down and organize knowledge? It's a huge question, and it really gets to the heart of what we're all trying to build with artificial intelligence.